Davey. I'm Mama. And this is Off the Record.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to Off the Record. I am RJ Starcevic, my first time hosting the show, so it's a blast being able to have the honor to host the show Off the Record. There's been a lot of great hosts in the past, but proud to be hosting it this weekend, and we got three great guests with me today that we're going to have a lot of fun with on the show, and we're going to kick it off with Mr. Charles Krall, Mr. ARCA Menards Series, coming on the show. First of all, man, we're going to kick it off with you. How was this past weekend at Charlotte? How's it been this season with the ARCA Menards Series? How would you summarize that all up?
We had a great race down there at Charlotte, RJ. It's been we're only on our fifth race of the season. We start at Daytona, and then we take a couple of weeks off, and we go out to Phoenix, and then we take a couple of weeks off, and then we go to Talladega and Kansas, and now we're finally getting to that part of the year where we're going to start racing. If not every week, pretty much at least every other week. So, really happy to get to this point of the year. Our storylines are pretty similar to where they've been the last couple of years. We're bringing in some new developmental drivers, youngsters that TRD wants to bring up, or in Rev Racing's case, Chevrolet wants to bring up, or and it's been great. Nick Sanchez has picked up a couple of wins this year. Nick is a great young man, great guy. He's got a big future ahead of him. Raja Caruth has been knocking on the door of victory lane probably like the last three races. I think Raja's had a shot to win, and we're just counting down until he gets that first victory. And then we've it's weird to call him the veteran, the old grizzled veteran, because I think he just turned 20 years old. But Corey Heim, he's the old man of that group at this point, and he's already picked up a win this year at Daytona. So it's been a lot of fun watching these guys, and we're ready to get at it. It's that time of the year where we're going to start reeling them off. So I'm anxious, ready to get going.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun to watch the series this year. Now we'll introduce our second guest on the show, Mason Maggio. You've been driving pro late models this year for Rickware Racing, but we'll kick it off with the big news this week, man. You're going to be making your Camping World Truck Series debut at Gateway for Rion Brothers Racing. Summarize that. What are the emotions, and how are you looking forward to this weekend?
Yeah, it's still surreal to even put myself in that category of competing in the NASCAR Truck Series. Yeah, definitely a deal that came together relatively quick. Right at the beginning of May, the phone call and the conversation started, and started scrambling to be able to put it all together, and thankfully we were. And now we're going to be going to Gateway here in a couple of days, and looking forward to just a day filled with learning, and just going to soak in the opportunity and all the moments throughout the weekend.
Yeah, that's going to be awesome. I'm looking forward to that. We'll detail that more in the show. And then our third set of guests we have on here, the hosts of Two Guys, One Track, a new up-and-coming podcast, and they're starting to join me in reporting on the ARCA Menards Series and short tracks routes. We got Artez Kelly and Damani Smith. Whichever one of you guys wants to start out first, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you. I'm happy to be here. How are you doing, RJ?
I'm doing good, man. Glad to have you on. It looks like we just lost Artez, unfortunately, but hopefully he will make it back in here for the show. But good to—
Don't worry, he'll be back.
Yeah, he'll be back on here sometime. So good to have you guys on. And man, this weekend, Damani, if you want to, go into detail, you and Artez and I were at Charlotte Motor Speedway, covering the ARCA Series. And how was that for you? Because that was kind of the first day we were out there on Friday covering ARCA. How would you explain the emotions of being out there? We may have lost Damani too.
I love technology.
The Two Guys, One Track. The internet is
Hey, can you guys hear me?
There he is. All right, we got you.
My apologies, technical difficulties.
You're good.
But yeah, like I was trying to say, that was my second time being out in the pits ever for a race weekend. I went to Talladega a month prior, got a preview of what that was like. And to be at Charlotte with you, somebody with experience in the ARCA series and reporting, it was just a dream come true. Got to make some new friends, got to get my feet wet with photography and journalism. And I got to learn a lot from you, RJ.
Appreciate it, man. Yeah, we definitely learned a lot this weekend. It was a lot of fun at Charlotte. Great experiences. So glad we introduced all three of our guests we have here on the show. Charles, Mason, Damani and Artez, and we'll be back on Off the Record. So we're back here on Off the Record. Glad to have all my great guests with me today. And Charles, I'll start with you. This question kind of like, you know, you obviously are doing a lot of stuff with ARCA. You do stuff a lot around the track as well. You know, I saw you all weekend this week at Charlotte on pit road working. You weren't just working ARCA. You were doing twice in one day. You had the ARCA Menards outfit on for the ARCA race, and then like 30 minutes later, you had the Charlotte Motor Speedway outfit on, doing some more stuff at the track. So just overall, I mean, if you want to share a story on kind of like the thing that kind of sparked your career and what you do and what kind of got it all started.
Yeah, I'm happy to do that, RJ. So, you know, my entry to the sport really, I'm going to be 50 this year, as much as I hate to say it. My entry to the sport came 50 years ago. You know, my grandparents were officials with John and Mildred Markham, the founders of ARCA, back in the early 1960s and in through the 70s and the 80s. And of course, you know, after I was born, I started tagging along with them to the racetracks. And the very first job I ever had, the first thing I ever got paid to do in my life was sell ARCA yearbooks for my current boss, Ron Drager, when I was 10 years old. So, you know, that's how long I've been around. And, you know, my family has been involved in various levels of racing. You know, I have an uncle, my uncle Al, who was a big time short track open wheel guy. And he's worked everything from, you know, local short track midget and sprint car races to, you know, working on Indy cars in the 70s. So he's been around. And then, you know, my uncle Bill Gardner was the owner of the championship winning team in the NASCAR Cup Series back in 1983 with Bobby Allison driving. So racing has been in my blood and in my family for, you know, my entire life. I've always wanted to find a way to work in racing, and I started as the track announcer at Toledo Speedway in 1998. And very quickly after that, had the opportunity to go work as the PR guy / sponsor acquisition guy over there at Sealmaster Racing, which is now ThorSport Racing. Did that for a couple of years, and then kind of moved into the media side of things. I worked for a website called truckseries.com back in the day, which I had a lot of fun doing that. So many great memories working in the truck series from about 2002 through about 2008. And then I had some kids, and I stopped traveling on a regular basis for about 10 years, but was still able to do some internet radio broadcasts for the ARCA Menards Series. And he did a couple of TV broadcasts over the course of that time frame, as well as a pit road reporter. And when the time came when the previous PR manager at ARCA decided he was gonna, you know, move on and do something else, I said, hey, I would love to do this. And, you know, thankfully they invited me on board. And you know, now that we are part of NASCAR, that does also give me the opportunity to go and do some other things within the NASCAR family as well. RJ, you saw me doing some pit road reporting for NASCAR International there at Charlotte. I love doing that. I'm able to do the play-by-play for the East and West races, both live on Flow and on USA Network. And, you know, it's just, I never saw myself doing this kind of stuff, you know, 10 years ago when I was a stay-at-home dad. You know, so, you know, I feel like I'm the Dick Trickle of, you know, racing media coverage. You know, I'm 49 years old, just like Dick Trickle was when he won the Rookie of the Year award. So I'm just going to take it as it comes. I'm having a great time doing it. I love working in the ARCA Menards Series. I love working not only with the people that I work with on a day-to-day basis in the office. I love all of our young drivers. So much great young talent coming through, not only in the main ARCA Menards Series, but East and West as well. And yeah, I just have a great time doing it. You know, if you see me at the racetrack and I'm not smiling, there's something wrong, because I do. I go to the racetrack. It's a lot of hard work, but, you know, I go to the racetrack basically to have fun. That's how I feel about it. If I'm having fun, then everybody else is having fun. And that's what we're there for. You know, we're there to put on a show, and, you know, the teams there and everybody are there to compete, and they all work hard, but it's supposed to be fun. That's what we're all here for. And I want to keep it that way.
Yeah, it's great watching ARCA, you know, watching young drivers like that get opportunities to make it, further up in the ranks. And then you have the other side of ARCA where it's like those older veteran drivers who've just been around there for a long time, drivers that, are making pizzas during the week, that are just out there having fun racing. I mean, there's so many different dynamics to the ARCA series. I love it. But, the one of the best parts is obviously the young drivers that race in the ARCA Menards Series, not just ARCA, racing roots, racing late models, like our guy Mason Maggio here, who's making his truck debut this weekend. And Mason, that'll kind of make me ask you, I mean, what was the spark that kind of got your career started? Were you a guy that was racing real early in your career? Did you start recently? When did you start racing?
I didn't start racing till I was 13 years old. So to say the least, I was way late compared to, a lot of the drivers that you see that are climbing the ranks when they started at, 4 or 5 years old. So I got into it late. I kind of fell into it on accident. My parents watched the cup races on Sundays, and I didn't pay much attention to it because 6-7-year-old me had a very, very short attention span. So I couldn't watch 3-4 hours of racing from start to finish. But ultimately, when I was 12, I went out to my local racetrack at Palm Beach International Raceway, which is a road course. So they had a main road course and they had a go-kart track. And they had it run very similar to like a GoPro Motorplex, to where you had your rental go-karts and you had your main karts. So went out, did the rental go-karts just to kind of have fun with my dad and then some friends of mine that tagged along. And sure enough, I got quicker and quicker each lap, it seemed like, and, kept passing guys left and right. And, the rest is history between, doing Bandoleros and legend cars, late models the last year and a half. And here we are now, having the opportunity to go to Gateway and run a truck race. So extremely, extremely thankful for the opportunity and all the people that have helped me get to this point. And, hopefully we'll continue to be successful in motor racing as a whole.
Yeah, it's going to be real fun to watch you with this weekend. And Mr. Artez Kelly, I'm going to ask you, this is a story that you told a lot this weekend, and I want the viewers to hear it. We're talking about the stories that got everybody into racing. Man, tell us the story with a certain Xfinity driver that kind of got you onto the racing scene here.
Yeah, you said the driver that got me on the racing scene?
Yeah. The
Xfinity driver?
Yeah.
Oh, Jeremy Clemens, by far. Jeremy is a real good friend of mine, and the crazy story was that last year I got tickets for my home track, which is Atlanta Motor Speedway, and I got the tickets for the summer race, and I just took a random picture, just took a random picture, and I'll say like about 3-4 hours later, it says J Clemens 51 just like the tweet, and I was like what is this? Is this fake? Like what's going on? And it turns out to be a real guy, and he was a cool dude, and he got me on the scene, on the professional scene of it. But man, I've been a racing fan since I was 9 years old, watching Dale Jr. and Kyle Busch Kyle wrecked Dale Jr. at Richmond. Really, really tore my mind. It really broke my heart as a 9-year-old. But I've been watching sport for a long time.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, Artez, just remember, there's no such thing as a summer race anywhere. It's always spring or fall.
Yeah,
that's how it works.
Yeah. Hey.
You can have races at Pocono in June and July, both of which are in the summer, and one of them's the spring race and the other's the fall race. Isn't it weird how that works out?
God, yeah, I forget about that sometimes. That's how it works.
And I got to tell you, you were 9 years old in 2008. I already feel like I'm old, man. You're killing me. You're killing me.
Wait till you hear my story. And Mason's.
You are killing me. Oh my goodness.
We got two 17-year-olds in this Zoom. We got one Mason. He's
Mason 17 too.
Oh
yeah.
My goodness.
Yes,
wow.
Dude.
No, it's crazy. It's crazy. Like we get in the car this week. I'm riding with Damani and Artez, and because I just graduated high school last week, right? And so Damani had seen that I had graduated, with the cab and everything like that. And he's like, "Man, congratulations on graduating." I'm like, "Yeah, appreciate it." And he's like, "College, right?" I'm like, "No." I'm like high school. He's like, "Oh, so you're 18?" I'm like, 17. It's crazy. So yeah, and that'll kind of lead me to you, Damani, to wrap this little segment up. I mean, what got your spark in getting into racing and getting into this aspect of racing where you're trying to report on it and being a podcaster?
Well, I was 5 years old and I decided I wanted to be a race car driver. My parents took me to my first race when I was 7 years old, still living in Detroit. They took me to Michigan International Speedway, the Batman Begins 400, and I just fell in love. I moved down here to Georgia. My parents took me to the first Atlanta night race. They took me to the Spring Talladega in 2010, where McMurray got beat by Harvick at the line. And I said, I have to be a part of this sport by any means necessary. I graduated from the University of West Georgia last year with a degree in journalism. And a year later, I'm chasing my dream at the racetrack. This side of the sport is very interesting. It's very tedious. All the skills I've used from photography, photojournalism, even writing and reporting are being put to use as I speak. And I couldn't be more thankful for this opportunity that I'm receiving. And I'm hoping I can be part of this sport in the long run and maybe get behind the wheel of a Legends car late Model 2 one day and still do the reporting on the side.
Yeah. Oh yeah, man. That's what we were talking about when we were at Charlotte. We saw those the applications, the
For
ARCA
ARCA?
series race applications. We're like, man, we're gonna have Damani and us fill one of them out. Gonna get our own team together. We're gonna get running, but we'll see how far that goes. So we'll get into some more talks here on Off the Record in just a few. Off the Record, it's been a great episode already. Lots of stuff to talk about. So Mason, I'm gonna throw it to you first here with this question. We're talking about racing and getting on the racetrack. You're racing at Gateway this weekend, or Worldwide Technology Raceway, I guess is what they call it now. You haven't had any experience on Gateway, have you yet?
The closest thing to it is iRacing and just watching last year's race. So yeah, this is going to be brand new for me. By far the biggest racetrack that I did at the beginning of this year was the ARCA Menards Series test at Daytona. That's the only big track experience I got, but Gateway is a whole nother beast and a whole different race car. So yeah, it's going to be a big learning curve. It's going to be a really big adjustment compared to what I'm used to with the late model at the short tracks across the Carolinas and in Virginia. So yeah, I think it'll be a fun adjustment though. I think it'll be a really big learning curve that'll allow me to progress and hopefully move forward by the end of the weekend and have a little bit more confidence in my ability and the equipment and the opportunities that I have in front of me. So looking forward to it. It's always been an interesting track. Never would have expected to make my debut at Gateway, but here we are. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it and looking forward to learning throughout the weekend in more ways than one.
Yeah, it's gonna be a lot of fun to watch. And you noted earlier in the show, you started racing at 13. You're 17 now, making your truck debut. You've gotten some pro late model wins for Rick Racing. And Charles, that'll kind of lead me to asking you this question. Your time in motorsports, people talk about it a lot, even on just NASCAR Cup broadcasts, is worldwide. Like the change in young drivers from what we have, they, I guess, considered or sort of train themselves to race now. What have you noticed? In the change of young drivers throughout, especially with you working in ARCA, you get to work with a lot of young drivers. This is basically, where they start in NASCAR on a professional level. What have you noticed throughout the changes in like young drivers making their way through the sport in the last 20 years and kind of how it's done, like the process?
So it's interesting. When I was a youngster, going to the races with my grandparents and whatnot, a young driver would have been, 25 years old. And when you were looking at a young driver in the Cup Series, you would have been talking about somebody who was late 20s, early 30s. You needed to put in, a good 5 or 6 years running at your local track, and then, maybe a year or two, touring with some, the ARCA Series or the old ASA Series, and then maybe you'd get lucky and get a call to come and run a back of the pack Cup car somewhere for a couple of years before anybody would even consider putting you in a top of the line car, and now, you've got drivers who are, in ARCA. Todd Gilliland won an ARCA race the day after he turned 15 years old. That is incredible to me.
Me, Artez, and Damani, we always talked about Rajah Caruth a lot. And Raj was there every single day at Charlotte. And I got the pleasure of going to the new Smyrna test with him that he did with Alpha Prime in Xfinity. And you can see, the dedication and the work that he wants to put in to make it to the next level. So Artez, if you kind of want to go into a little detail on what, me, you, and Damani saw at Charlotte from Rajah Caruth. What did you see from him, every day going out there, trying to put in the work, and just not even Raj, but all the young drivers that we were able to meet this week, especially on Friday during the ARCA series?
Man, it goes back to what I always say. It's not what you know, it's who you know. And the thing about Raj that I like is that, I love, matter of fact, is the fact that it doesn't matter who he is, who you are, so on and so forth. This guy will come up to you, shake your hand, talk to you, try to build a relationship with you. And one thing in racing is for sure, you got to build some type of relationships. You never want to burn bridges, but build a relationship. And that's one thing that Raj did every day. I think he was there like all 3 days, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So he was there the whole time, just in the pits, even after the race, just building relationships, shaking everybody's hand, and so on and so forth. So that's real key and real good for success in racing.
Yeah. Damani, how about you?
What I like about what Raj is doing, I believe it was Saturday night during qualifying, he went up to Bubba Wallace and Kurt Busch and was asking for some pointers. He wants to make sure when he's Cup ready that he can get in that car, keep it in one piece, and bring home a good finish. And he told me that he wants to spend a good 5 years in the lower series before moving up to Cup. He wants to master his craft on the sim. He wants to win those races in Legends cars because he still does road course races in Legends cars. He's trying to develop himself to be the best driver he can and build himself up his racing resume before he goes to reach out to a team and sponsors, I feel like. And the experience he's getting with Alpha Prime this year is very valuable and going to go a long, long, long way in his career overall, regardless of the finishes, because that on-track experience is the most valuable piece of information a driver can get, second to advice.
Exactly. Yeah, it's definitely important to be at the track and keep putting in the work for your craft. So, we'll be back on Off the Record to talk more. We'll talk some more ARCA Menards stories when we come back. As I said, I want to talk about some little fun ARCA Menards stories because me personally, I was put on assignment by TobyChristie.com this year to cover the ARCA Menards series in depth. And it's been a lot of fun. There's a lot of fun stories, a lot of wacky stories, a lot of stories I didn't think I'd be writing when I'm typing sometimes, but I am. But it's a lot of fun. And that's kind of one of the reasons why I love the ARCA Menards series. So I want to talk about like an incident that happened a few weeks ago at Kansas. There was
wait. Well, let me guess which one this is.
Yeah, there was a little run-in between Corey Hahn.
Was there?
And Drew
I don't remember that.
So from what you do remember, Charles, like incidents like this that happen, I mean, they blow up obviously on social media. These are the type of incidents that fans love, and they blow up, especially when Billy Venturini gives an interview like that on pit road. They blow up, and as you with your relationship with ARCA and everything like that, when you see these types of incidents, are they something where you're like, all right, is this good? Is this good for the sport? Is it not good for the sport? How do you look at it?
So it's interesting. So first and foremost, when I work for ARCA, I do, I have the ARCA hat on. I do have to, we unfortunately, we are in the position where we do have to call balls and strikes.
Yeah.
And we have to, we will sit there and make a judgment call from time to time. Is this good? Is this bad? Thankfully, the strike zone on what you can and can't do in a situation like that it's pretty tight. So we give them a lot of leeway there. I've known Billy a long time, and when he did that, I first and foremost looked at it with my ARCA hat on, and was like, okay, so that happened, and but you also look through it as the lens of a fan like that, so, and sometimes what's entertaining to a fan and what's good for the sanctioning body don't always line up, but Billy obviously did get a penalty for that. We are of the belief that if there were to be some repercussions for that, they'd come from whether it's a sponsor or anybody else, them giving, and and there were none. So just so you know, I talked to Billy about this. He said, I haven't heard anything. I did send Billy a text after that happened. And I said, so Matt Hagens is the happiest man in racing right now, because from now on, anytime somebody searches Billy Venerini interview on YouTube, his interview where you referenced sending him to the hospital is not going to come up. It's going to be the Drew Dollar interview. But yeah, Billy is a fiery guy. He is very competitive. He absolutely speaks what's on his mind. But I have found, in like I said, I've known Billy a long time. I have found he is one of the most genuine people in the garage area. He and his family do so much for so many people behind the scenes that they absolutely don't want to tell anybody about, don't want the credit for it. They just do it because they're good people. And yeah, I'm really tickled to have gotten to know them over the years. And it's great to work alongside them here in the same series. And it's good to be around them. They're good folks. But yeah, man, that interview, that was something, you know. And then the Twitter battle that followed it.
Oh God, yeah. There's always a Twitter battle that follows a lot of things. And there was one incident this year that happened in the Xfinity series, but a lot of people tied it back to ARCA and their ARCA days. And it was Ty Gibbs and Sam Mayer. And when that happened, everyone was like, well, these guys already got bad blood. And it started, everyone said it started in the ARCA Menards Series. And you can kind of see it as you look back in time. Was that something that you noticed, Charles? Like, did you sense that there was kind of something brewing between them? Or did you think it was like a friendly rivalry?
So I'm going to say it's a friendly rivalry. And I'm sure every one of us, Damani, Artez, Mason, even you, RJ, I'm sure there have been times where you were ultra competitive with someone that you're friendly with, where you just get mad. I don't think that Ty and Sam are ever or were ever like, hey, we are best friends. But I think that there's a lot of respect there. And I think, you know, they have understood from the time they were probably 15 years old. They knew they were going to be racing against each other each and every week the rest of their lives. They were both that good. They both knew they were eventually going to end up, you know, in the upper levels of the sport. They were the top two drivers at virtually every level they've ever competed in. And yeah, we're going to Worldwide Technology Raceway this weekend. And I remember the race there in 2019 where Sam was leading at the white flag and Ty gave him the boot going into turn 3 and moved him on the last lap and won the race. And from there on out, I think this has been, while it may be a friendly rivalry at times, it's also been a heated rivalry. You know, these two know to win, I've got to beat him. And, you know, Sam is still looking for that first win, and he's getting hungry. And, you know, Ty has been fortunate enough to win 7 of them at this point. Yeah. And that deal at Martinsville, I think, was just two young guys who have raced each other a lot, who just want to, they want to beat the other one. That's what they want. They want to beat the other one. And it just overflowed. And, you know, I haven't really talked to either of them at this point to find out if the fences have been mended. I'm going to guess that, you know, that's a wound that's probably, they may say publicly, you know, there's no problem there, but you don't forget those things. And it'll be interesting to see what happens the next time they're racing each other on the last lap. You know?
Yeah, and it seems like they're going to be racing each other for a while too, if everything goes to plan for both. I mean, both great young guys, great young drivers that are.
And I do want to make mention of that, regardless of whatever happened there at Martinsville or what happens beyond that. I absolutely think they're both just great guys. I remember meeting Ty, you know, when he came up here to test at Toledo Speedway before he was even eligible to race. He was that young. And I thought he was a pretty fun dude even then. I've always thought the world of Sam Mayer and his dad, Scott, just great guys. And yeah, I actually am looking forward to these two getting up there in that Cup Series and racing on Sundays and fight for championships. That's going to give me a lot of pride and a good sense of satisfaction, because they're just two good dudes to me.
Two good dudes and very hard racers. And Mason, I know when you race on the short track scene and pro late models and anything that you've raced in the past, there's a lot of blood boiling on those short tracks, and kind of just on this topic, like, you got any stories of anything, like the craziest thing you've seen at a short track race that you've been to? Something along those lines.
Yeah, by far last year, it was the final race. I'd run limited late models at Hickory all year just to kind of get my feet wet with a full-size stock car, before going over to E33 Motorsports and Rickway Racing for the Carolina Pro Series this year. And, me and another driver, I'm not going to name names, but he and I had a pretty heated rivalry. The race prior to the final race of the championship there, he and I had a not so friendly discussion after the race regarding who did what. And then the final race of the season, he's in a position to win the championship. I'm trying to get every point that I can, and we're battling for the lead. After he got in front of me on a restart, and eventually he and I collided at one point in the race, and I went on to win the race. And let's just say when he came over to my car, he wasn't very too happy. And I was still, in victory lane, trying to take off all my seatbelts, my helmet, and all that good stuff. And to say the least, it got pretty heated after the race with crew members and drivers and all that good stuff. So it was interesting. It's definitely something I don't want to repeat in the future, but so far we've been good about that this year. I've had a great competitor in Josh Lauder, who's been like the Bubba Pollard in a sense of the Carolina Pro Series. And he and I have had two really good battles for the win at Franklin County Speedway and then Goodyear All-American Speedway. So it's you want more races like those, not necessarily the one that I had last year at the end of the season.
Mason, this is the problem that I've always had with young guys racing, and not that there's a real problem, but if I'm a 50-year-old guy and I get wrecked by you and you're 17 and I want to come and wring your neck, I can't do it. You're too young. It's a problem.
Yeah, but I can understand that for sure. That's it's definitely frustrating how a veteran or a more experienced driver.
You can say old guys. We know we're old. We get it.
Yeah.
I do have a question that I just thought of. So like anybody can go. We got a lot of different people in the Zoom. We got drivers, we got personnel, we got fans. We're all race fans. What are our thoughts on like crew members getting in like discussions between drivers that got beef on pit road? Damani's got his hand up. Damani, you can go first.
I want to say boys have at it for one reason. NASCAR is a team sport. They're a contact sport. If somebody, driver A is down here and the pit crew sees that driver A is instigating their driver being driver B, they have a right to jump in and help defend him. Now I say defend him, meaning hands are thrown, punches are caught. Go out there, help your guy, break up the fight. Do whatever you can.
Yeah, Damani, I'm kind of, obviously as a member of the sanctioning body, we don't want anybody fighting.
Oh yeah,
I've never understood, when I'm not a serious football watcher, but I'll watch football every now and then, and there's no rule that says the quarterback can only fight another quarterback. If you're upset,
right?
you're upset, you're gonna be jawing at whoever's standing there with you, and sometimes that happens. Obviously we don't want anybody fighting in the ARCA garage, but when it does happen, I would imagine it's probably really hard to hold your emotions. Well, I got to wait to yell at the driver. No, you're be yelling at anybody.
Right.
It's got to be a challenging thing.
Precisely.
Anybody else got any more thoughts?
I mean, listen, I see it like this. Okay, Damani, I agree with you. I agree with Damani on this. If you're a driver and your crew, so on and so forth, you're helping your driver out. If punches be thrown, then you got to help your driver out, right? So on and so forth. But if it's like, just like coming up, like for example, if two drivers just coming up, just having a conversation, let them have a conversation. Just stay out the way, let them have a conversation. You was not in the car for 400, 300 miles, so on and so forth. But if punches are thrown, however, if punches are thrown, then you got to help your driver. You don't leave your driver hanging. But it's a double-edged sword.
So I was standing there on pit road the other day when Jeb Burton and Noah
Oh,
Gregson
man.
were having their little discussion. And
Oh,
there were
man.
no team members around there at all. And I was thinking it was going to get a little heated. And I was going to have to break it up. I didn't want to have to jump.
Yeah, there were more media members than team members.
Yeah, there were. I was like, I don't know. This is, I think all, and it was interesting because Jeb kept yelling at him and Noah wouldn't respond. And all it was doing was making Jeb more mad. And I was like, I think we're going to see a fight here because Noah's not doing anything. But thankfully, cooler heads prevailed on that one. But yeah, that's the last thing I want to do. I don't want to be breaking up the fight. That's not for me.
Yeah, we would have seen Charlotte security, pit road security.
Yeah, I'm an old man. I don't need to be breaking up these young kids fighting anymore.
And security was fighting somebody on pit road after the Coke 600, wasn't there?
I saw that.
Yeah, I think
Gate crasher at Victory Lane, huh?
Yeah,
I thought that was you, RJ.
he thought that was me fighting. I wish I was there to see it because I would have laughed pretty hard. I don't know what was going on. I guess the dude was trying to jump in front of the car or something, and security was just like, "No."
Got to get your 5 minutes of fame somehow.
Yeah, he did. He did. I'm sure that video went viral. So yeah, that was crazy. There were definitely some almost fights. I keep forgetting about that Noah Gragson, Jeb Burton thing, and then like you said, Charles. Things that happen at the track seems to follow with the Twitter beef, and Jeb Burton went absolutely insane on Twitter.
Yeah, he did.
he let him hear it. So yeah, lots of conflict, but good to talk about that. We'll be back here and Off the Record to wrap it all up. All right, everybody, we're back here on Off the Record to wrap things up. And a question I kind of like to ask on my old podcast, the drivers meeting. We always end the podcast, me and Tommy Joe. We always ask the guests that we have on, in this case, guests on the show, what's a goal of yours you have, whether it's in the next year, next few years, if, when you get there, what do you want to say you have accomplished, maybe that you have it now, that you want to in the future? So Charles, I know you've been in the business a long time, but what are some things that you feel like, you haven't maybe accomplished, or things that you want to get done, goals, places you want to go, tracks? I mean, any goals that you have?
I think one of the real goals that I would like to achieve before, I call it quits is I would like to broadcast, whether it's an ARCA Menards Series race or trucks, Xfinity Cup, I would like to broadcast a race, with the TV partners. And, that is a goal of mine. Like I said, I'm 49 years old. I'm the Dick Trickle of this deal. And I know that they're not often looking for 49-year-old rookies, but it sure would be fun to go and do that. I think I'm good enough at it to do a pretty decent job. We'll see how that goes. But that said, I am extremely happy doing what I'm doing. The schedule fits my lifestyle very, very well. I love living here in Toledo, Ohio. We've got a lot of great racetracks up here, and working for ARCA it is already something that I have dreamed of, since I was a little kid. So I'm a pretty lucky guy, RJ, and I'm happy to be living that dream right now. So no complaints out of me, but we'll see what the future holds.
Exactly. Mason, we'll move over to you. Obviously, I'm sure one of your goals was to make a Camping World Truck Series start. That's definitely on your agenda this week. But other than that, and you can note on that too, but what are some goals you have in your racing career? Where do you kind of want to be, whether it's 1 year from now, 5 years, 10 years?
Yeah, it's an interesting topic. For me personally, there's a lot of drivers that are fortunate enough to, be able to climb the rankings and have those connections and, be able to be in competitive equipment and go out there and win races. For me, it's not necessarily that case. So, from probably the truck series on up, there's a slim chance of me being able to win races realistically, speaking here, just as far as where I stand. But, I want to be relevant in this sport, and I want to make myself known, as a guy that can compete in the truck Xfinity series and be competitive with the equipment that's given. I feel like that's a pretty reasonable goal. It's something that hopefully after Gateway I can start working towards, and try to do it on a full-time basis, or at least a majority scheduled basis. And just continue to learn. That's another big thing for me, both on and off the track, both as a driver and just as a person too. I'm going to be 18 in 2 months, and I still need to learn a lot about myself as well as the ins and outs of the sport. So, just trying to, continue to work hard, continue to grind, and try to make, those goals and expectations, become a reality, hopefully at some point. So just trying to stay in it as long as I can, and, have a blast doing it.
Exactly. So well said, Artez. Damani, I'll start with you, Artez. Your goals in the sport, you're just getting going professionally. Obviously, we had a great weekend at Charlotte. 1, 5, 10 years down the road, what are your goals to kind of accomplish in the sport as of now? How do you look at it?
Professionally, I just got into the sport. Outside of it, before I was in funeral service, I'm still in funeral service as we speak. But inside the sport of NASCAR, I really want to be involved in the PR side of it. Public relations side, I would definitely love to be involved, if not even NASCAR, ARCA. That's one of my goals. And then down the road, if I'm in journalism, love to keep still in journalism. But my main goal at the end is to build a race team. It can be a truck series team, Xfinity team, just that, not Cup, especially due to the charges. Horrible. But price is horrible. But just building a foundation for these guys coming up, minority or not. I was just telling Damani this on the way back. These guys got to have an opportunity. And if both of us, if myself, him, whomever, can build that opportunity for them, then, that's a job well done. So 10 years down the line, I would definitely be a foundation for those drivers coming in.
So what about you, Damani?
Well, like I said earlier, I've wanted to do this since I was 5, and this being drive. I want to invest in a Legends car, late model, get what Mason has, basically. He's getting his first start in the truck series. To make any start in the top series and own my own race team is a dream of mine. For now, though, I'm going to do it. Lean on Artez, lean on you, do this journalism gig, take pics at the track, do whatever I can to get my foot in the door, save some money up so I can invest in a Legends car. 5 years from now, like I said, I want to be where Mason is, running a truck race or two, maybe putting sponsorship deals together. Because as I speak, I saw Brad Perez's post, and I'm close friends with him. I told him I would help him get a sponsor because I know several people here in Atlanta who own businesses. I want him to get his seat time in the truck. I want to help others while also achieving personal goals within myself. My primary goal is, like I said, to help others, own a race team, give drivers of color seat time, maybe run a few races here and there, the same way Mike Harmon, our Lord and Savior, does. But yeah, we love Mike Harmon over here.
Amen.
But man, he does it all. But yeah, basically, I want to be a part of the sport as a driver, public relations guy, journalist, whatever life throws at me.
Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Thanks to everybody. Thanks to all my great guests here on the show. And this has been an episode of Off of the Record.